The Incredibles is one of Pixar's most famous and most iconic series, and rightfully so. I just finished watching both films and I want to talk about my opinions on them because there is 14 years between them and the first Incredibles movie is now 20 years old. So I'm going to start off with The Incredibles, one of my favourite superhero movies of all time. In this lauded Pixar animated film, married superheroes Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl are forced to assume mundane lives as Bob and Helen Parr after all superpowered activities have been banned by the government. While Mr. Incredible loves his wife and kids, he longs to return to a life of adventure, and he gets a chance when summoned to an island to battle an out-of-control robot. Soon, Mr. Incredible is in trouble, and it's up to his family to save him. So this movie is like so much more than that. I want to give my little details on things that I enjoyed about this movie and then go into depth as to why I like it, love it in fact. So the score, obviously the music is brilliant. It fits the timepiece perfectly and it fits the whole superhero piece perfectly. It's another one of those beautiful Pixar films. It's just got gorgeous lighting and I love the animation style. Of course, the voice acting is incredible, no pun intended, but every single performance feels real. It feels full of emotion. It feels like they are the character, and every single character in this film feels very real. It's written well, it's got a great script, stakes feel high, and as a kid, I'm sure this film must have bored me, because I truly believe this is not really a kid's film. If you look at it, if you look what's in it, you look at the stuff that it covers, it really doesn't seem like a kid's film, even with the superhero stuff. Yes, it's very child-friendly in that there's no like gore, no blood, no swearing, anything like that. Maybe a bit of like, crap, but that's just to an appeal. And if it wasn't for the timepiece, 20 years ago, where if it was animated, it was pretty much made for kids, then it probably could have been a lot better. Maybe it could have been worse if it went down that direction. But it's very good where it is. But if you look at today, you have things like Love, Death and Robots, Oats Studios, Blue Eye Samurai, a lot of animators pretty much that are all animated and for adults, and now that take a much more serious tone because this movie's it's great, okay? It's a very slow burn. Obviously at the start you have an introduction to the heroes, and then there was probably a good 40 to 50 minutes of just no superheroes. I'd say more around the 40-minute mark, but in these 40 minutes, you establish this family, and they do it perfectly. Each member of the family has something to worry about. They all have their issues, and I love seeing them collide. So obviously you have the three kids and the two adults. Bob, Mr. Incredible, Bob Parr, loves his family. He's built it all upon, living a mundane life. However, he longs to become a superhero once more. He lets himself go. He's in a fit of depression and he wants to get back to the superhero life, which he can't do because it's illegal. He yearns for this. When the opportunity rises, he gets a secret message. He gets called back into the field and he starts lying to his family about where he's going because his family doesn't want him to return to superheroing. Because his wife, Helen Parr, Elastigirl, Mrs. Incredible, whichever one you want, she is very against the whole coming back into being superheroes. She knows it's illegal, so she knows it's bad, and she just needs to live her life as it is now because she thinks what she has is enough. So she's really against the idea of Bob going back into the field of work, and she does not want to let her kids use their powers. Now the kids, Violet and Dash. Violet is obviously going through puberty. She has to handle school, she has to handle relationships, she has to handle her feelings, has to handle her annoying family, as well as her superpowers, which she can't use. Dash is very enthusiastic about using his powers for everything. He does it in class without trying to get caught. He wants to compete in sports, but his mother does not let him. So every single character has a want, they have a need, and then they have a restraint, which is each other, and it all works really well. Now, before I mention the script, it's almost flawless. This family works like a real family. They're not perfect. They have arguments almost every single time, but the arguments feel justified. Things that they're arguing about and the way that they're speaking to each other, that is how a real family speaks. But no matter what it is, usually families have discussions like this. And this is exactly how families are built. Obviously, with this one, it's more superhero related. And I think that is just So good, so good. Syndrome as well is such a great villain. Such a very, very, very good idea for a villain. They say never meet your heroes, and that's exactly what he did. So now he wants revenge. Very good. I love Edna Mode. Great designer. One of the best characters in the film. Right beside Bon Voyage, which is one of the greatest villains of all time. I love Bon Voyage. C'est incroyable! Yes, obviously there's a big climax. Bob goes to this island, he fights this Omnidroid, he's back, he gets in shape. Helen starts wondering why, she gets suspicious. Oh, Bob's gone to the island now, she needs to go and save him. The kids come along because now they can use their powers. Trust starts being formed, and it's so good. Obviously the family all comes together and there's a big battle towards the end, and it's very good. And then the ending scene still, like, it shook me. It sent shivers down my spine. The Incredibles realize, like, Jack's been left alone, and they walk into the house and Syndrome's there and they freeze him. And it's so good. And then Jack has his time to shine, and he has powers. The continuity in this film is also great, and it like leaks onto the other film, which is really great as well. But yeah, absolutely, I adore this movie, and it's so good. This movie is nothing short of a 9 out of 10. That is right, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, it's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. It'd be my top 5. You know, probably behind Spider-Man 2, which is my favorite comic book movie of all time. But it's definitely up there, I'd have to think about it. The Batman, maybe it'd be on there, or The Dark Knight, definitely one of those two. But nonetheless, Incredibles, and it probably gets underlooked because it's a kids movie. It's great. And then 14 years later, a very long awaited release. Obviously I wasn't alive in 2004, so I didn't wait 14 years, but I did watch the first Incredibles movie before Incredibles 2, so I did wait a bit. I saw this one on a cruise ship. So The Incredibles 2 on a cruise ship. It was great. But The Incredibles 2, which I literally just finished watching before I recorded this. I'm gonna start with the positives. I said in my previous Cars video that this is one of Pixar's best looking films. I think I put it right behind Soul in the best looking film, and my god, I still stick by that. I was mind blown watching this a second time. I want to be in this world. Like I said, I love the animation style, and they just improved upon this in this movie. Obviously, they've had 14 years to improve their technology, and 14 years they have done. Everything in this movie just looks incredible. Not just The Incredibles, okay? The lighting, the animation, the water physics, the ice physics, the score as well. Once again, it maintained its brilliantness. I don't know if it's as good as the previous film, but in today's age, it's great to hear music like this. Because nowadays with movies, you know, not only are movies becoming more advanced in technology, but music is changing a lot with them. I think this film did some things well. It definitely had some really fun scenes. I think it was genius to have this movie pick up the second after the first one ended with the Underminer, and we get to see that play out. I think that's brilliant. There's some really fun scenes, like I said, like Jack, we get to discover his powers. I think that's really cool. I think it's really, like the raccoon versus Jack scene, that was hilarious. While the Parr family has accepted its collective calling as superheroes, the fact remains that their special heroism is still illegal. After they are arrested after unsuccessfully trying to stop the Underminer, their future seems bleak. However, the wealthy Devis siblings of DevTech offer new hope with a bold project to rehabilitate the public image and legal status of supers, with Elastigirl being assigned on point to be the shining example. There was a lot of really cool stuff in this film, but none of it was executed properly. I think the direction that this movie took to start with was stupid, especially for 14 years of a follow-up film, but to then execute everything wrongly was like another step further. They definitely focused on Elastigirl more. I thought they would have focused more on the family. Obviously the whole domestic life thing, that was the focus. Mr. Incredible having to be a dad instead of being a superhero. I mean, it would have been better like the previous film to have them all working together. Obviously towards the end the kids save everyone, which is stupid because they're fighting literally every superhero in existence. This movie was much more action-packed, and it felt much more targeted towards a child audience, which is fine. Obviously that's fine. I'm just saying they're very different movies. As much action as there was in this movie, it wasn't a slow burn at all. There was action almost every 10 minutes. It was boring. The entirety of the Elastigirl sort of setup, the finding who it really is, that was boring. I'm sorry. It's not written well. One of the conversations that they had was like, this is for the women. This is all you know, you're a woman superhero for the women, and Elastigirl was like, and that kind of felt forced. In the previous film, Elastigirl, one of her first lines was like,
"Leave the saving of the world to the men? I don't think so."
Clearly, Elastigirl is a standout for women, which is great. In this movie, like I said, it feels forced because they're just like, do it for the women. Every relationship in this movie feels forced. They do not build upon everything, if that makes sense. Like, say Dash and Bob will have a conflict. It'll be like, Dad, help me with math. No, I don't want to. They changed it. I did it. And then it's resolved within about 3 minutes. It's the same with Violet. Dad, you sent Dicker to erase his mind. I'm sorry. Here's a date. Okay, thanks, Dad. And then it's done again. Once again, this is all my opinions, but I did not like Incredibles 2 that much, and I can remember liking it as a kid. I was like, I don't think it was as good as the previous one, but I did enjoy it. I did not enjoy it this time. So, were these two movies worth the wait? Was the 14-year age gap necessary? I feel like my biggest problem with this second movie is that it does not feel like a sequel. Even if the 14-year thing wasn't there, or even if it was longer, they didn't really make it sequel material. Like, it wasn't as much as a follow-up. It felt more like this generation's interpretation of The Incredibles, so that this generation can now grow up with Incredibles. Felt like a retelling, almost, but it definitely was not a sequel, if that makes sense. Obviously, the starting scene, yes. I just quickly looked it up. I looked up Incredibles 3. This is no reliable source whatsoever. The first thing that came up is that it's planned for October 22nd, 2024 on Disney Plus, and December 14th release in theaters. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like there'd be a lot more about that. But anyway, I don't know if they've left it at a correct place for a sequel. Anyway, that's my opinions on the Incredibles movies. Let me know what you think. Do you think it was worth 14 years of waiting? My goodness gracious. I give the first Incredibles a 9 out of 10 and the second one a 5 out of 10. Quite a difference. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a nice day.